welcome to the stage Manchester United legend, Ryan Giggs.
Just need to announce as well that there'll be a raffle afterwards, and the silent auction winners are at the back for collection if you are one of those people. But getting into it, Ryan, just listening to a few things that Matt was saying there. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is manager of Manchester United at the moment. What's your feeling as a Manchester United fan yourself, a legend of the club? We're obviously going through a bit of a difficult time. We have done, even when you were there as assistant coach, it's been difficult since the greatest manager left. What's your feeling about Manchester United at the moment and the path we're on?
Well, I mean, it's obvious it's been a difficult start to the season. As far as Ole concerned, obviously I know him well. I know him both as a player and as a person. He's a fantastic guy, a brilliant professional. But no, I think like a lot of people, he's going to need time, because since the manager has left, obviously different philosophies, different types of players, and Ole's trying to sort of turn that around in a short space of time. So what he's trying to do, look at the future, but also win games in the meantime. It's difficult. And it's difficult when you're in a league with Jurgen Klopp, been at Liverpool 4 years, Pep Guardiola, been at City 3 years, fantastic coaches who are now established. So it was never going to be easy. I don't care what coach come in at Manchester United, they were never going to find it easy. And it's going to take time.
We were talking about that a little bit outside about, you know, Ollie's trying to change a lot, isn't he? He definitely needs to spend money, I think. He's bringing the youth through. There's talk of directors of football, this sort of thing. I know you've done the job for a little bit and you've said you're not in any rush to do it at the moment, but looking at it as a coach yourself, if you could pick one thing that you think that is really important for United at the moment, do you think it is patience? Do you think it is spending money? I know it's a difficult question, but I mean, the way I look at it is we probably do need to spend upwards of 300 million. We're that far off.
Yeah, of course. We need to bring quality in. You know, Ole brought 3 players in. They're all doing well. So, okay, his dealings in the transfer market so far have been very, very good. So then give him the money that other managers have had to get that Man United player. And he's talking about Man United. Okay, what's a Man United player? A Man United player, he gets the culture. Harry Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, Daniel James, they're footballers. Nothing else. You don't see any. So that's a culture shift. So you can't just change the culture overnight. So what he's getting in are players who are quality, good players, but also look good lads as well. Going to be good in the dressing room. And the longer they play, the better they're going to get. Get another 4 or 5, 6 players like that in, then we'll start to see, you know, a real difference, I think.
Yeah, appreciate that, Ryan. You look at the team that you played in and the team that you came into. Do you think the way that team played and the way that United went on for so many years playing that attacking way, do you think that can be replicated with the class of '92 in terms of the way they played football? You look at Liverpool, fast-flowing attacking football. You look at City, the old-school United way. Can that be replicated, and should we be looking to keep that, or do we need to sort of move on from that? Where do you stand on that?
No, you have to respect the culture and the history and the philosophy of Manchester United, attacking football. That'll never change, can't change, because that's what the fans demand. They demand players to get fans off their seats, get them excited. Also, what I said, that'll take time. Klopp, 4 years. Guardiola, 3 years. Guardiola especially already coming to a good team. Klopp has changed things around, and I think he's changed the culture. There's been a shift of culture. So, yeah, when I started, most teams were 4-4-2. You attack, we attack. We had the better players. We more often than not will win.
Shootout mentality.
Yeah, you score 2, we'll score 3. I don't think you can do that at the moment with this United team. So it's difficult, and they are missing that sort of creative player. So it's no coincidence that, you know, this season Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool been decent performances and good results. So, and against the other teams where you got to break them down, that's always been difficult for top teams. Patience, and you need quality, you need creative players. And at the moment, we're just probably shy of them creative players at the moment. But once we get them in, then I think we'll start. And I think Ollie realises that.
You're working a lot with youngsters now. It's a new era for a Wales squad. You're reinventing the squad. You're bringing through young players. Young players at Manchester United, you know, you've been there yourself. You know what it's like to come in with established pros there. What do you think of the Manchester United youngsters at the minute? You know, your Taif Chongs, your Angel Gomez's, your Mason Greenwood just signed a new contract, and the way that Ollie's trying to bed them in. Are you excited about these players?
Yeah, I am excited because, again, it's the Man United culture, seeing young players come in, do well. We've always had that. You know, I was a bit different. I come into a team which, even though maybe Paul Ince was 23, he felt like a man. He felt like, you know, probably played 300 games. Hughes, Robson, Bruce, Pallister, Schmeichel, they were all men. These young players aren't coming into a team like that. And then the class of 92, you'll hear Gaznev, you'll hear Butty. We didn't win, you know, what Alan Hansen famously said, you never win anything with kids. No, we didn't. Yeah, we good players, but it was the older players that helped us through. So you need that balance. Everything in football is about the balance. So you can have as exciting young players as you can, but they're going to make mistakes. They're going to hit heights, and then they're going to have loss of form. They're going to pick up injuries. So they need time. So it's a bit different from when we got into the first team, because we were coming into experienced teams that had won the league. So yeah, it's a little bit different for these young lads coming into the team at the moment.
Talking about some of the teams that you've played in the past, one question I wanted to ask you was 99 was obviously a great team, but 2008, if it wasn't for a dodgy referee, I think we would have won a treble then at Portsmouth at home. Talk us through those teams, and do you have a preference out of those who you would say, if you played one against the other, who would come out on top?
Yeah, two brilliant teams, but I must say the first double winning team, 93, 94, Schmeichel, Parker, Bruce, Pallister, Irwin, Chelskis, Keane, Ince, me, Hughes, Cantona. That was a good team. So even though we didn't do well in Europe, obviously we'd had that break from, all British teams had that break from Europe. That was a special team. And I think that double winning team played 23 times and never got beat. So they were a fantastic team. But for me, the best team will always be 99 because of what they achieved. But again, I could go through the 2007, 2008 team. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. And the teams, the players that didn't get in it, you know, Van der Sar, Lipin, Vidic, Ferdinand, Neville, Wes Brown, Patrice Evra, Owen Hargreaves, Michael Carrick, Paul Scholes, and then you get onto the really meaty bit. Tevez, Rooney, Ronaldo. Ridiculous players. Ridiculous players. So I would always say the 99 team because of what they achieved, and they had strength in depth. They had everything, but it's very difficult to separate them three teams for me.
And where do you stand? Because one thing we do have as fans at the moment is we don't have a lot to cheer. You know, Liverpool are doing well, Man City are winning titles. I think there is this sort of modern phenomenon that now is better than the past. Where, I mean, for me, nowhere near. But for you, Man City could win 3 titles in a row, not winning the Champions League team. Where would you, if the treble winning side was winning today, playing today in this Premier League, win the league?
100%.
Easy.
Not easy, but we would. No, I'm not being flippant. The City side are fantastic, and they've got a fantastic coach, but yeah, that team that I played with was something special.
You played with, obviously, a lot of players, and we've seen a lot of high-profile exits at Manchester United along the years. Your Becks, your Van Nistelrooys, your Cantonas, your Keanes, etc., your Stams. Was there a player that left at the time and you thought, oh, that's a bit early, or I wish they didn't leave at that time, if only they would have stayed? Is there anything you look back on and think, what if? Macheda? I don't know. Jemba.
Keep going. Do you know what? It wasn't a case of he left too early. It was just of a case that it just didn't quite happen. One of the best players I ever seen at United, and especially in training, it didn't go onto the pitch too many times, was Sebastian Veron, Seb Veron. I mean, he was a talented player. Now, he didn't leave too early because it was him and Roy probably at the same time, you know, both coming to get it off the back four, both wanted to dominate. He dominated the Argentinian team, and that was a fantastic team. Get the ball, spread it around. He was someone who, for some reason or not, it was the perfect sort of scenario where it just didn't happen at a club for him. He was a fantastic player, but it just didn't quite happen at United.
Was there ever a time in your career as a player, you've achieved so much, and I think it's easy for us all to sit here and think that every step of your career was easy because of the success. Was there ever a point in your career where you had to sit yourself down and say, I'm in a bit of a rut here, I don't know if I'm going to come out of it on the other side? And if so, how did you do it? Because you see players go through bad form, players who got good reputations, players who come from different countries, or players who've been at other clubs. Alexis Sanchez from Arsenal to Manchester United, look what happened to him. Where do you stand on that, about times where you've had to dig deep in yourself and say, Ryan, I need to come out of this?
Sometimes you try and do it on your own, but you need help as well from your teammates. I mentioned Sir Alex, I played under fantastic coaches as well. Brian Kidd was a huge influence on my career, especially when I was young. Little things like George Best didn't play well every week. He played with George Best. I'm thinking George Best 9 out of 10 every week because he was so brilliant and one of the, if not the greatest player ever to play for United. In my head, at 18, 19, I'm thinking George Best played. So for someone like Brian Kidd, I played with George Best. He wasn't brilliant every week. Even something as little as that can go, lift the pressure. Yeah. Or Rennie Mullenstein or Carlos Queiroz pulling you aside at the end and just setting up a few drills, getting you shooting. I remember doing a drill with Rennie Mullenstein. A few drills, few mannequins, dribbling in and out, open net, shoot. Simple as that. Simple. But it sort of gets the power back in the legs. The confidence grows. And very often it'd be teammates, teammates who motivate you. For years, playing against Gary Neville, I mentioned before, towards the end it got a bit easy, so for me. So then all of a sudden Rafa da Silva comes along and you're thinking, why does he keep running that way? So it's sort of like, older players can inspire, but so can young players. So I'm having to up my game in training. I don't want him taking the piss out of me, a young Brazilian lad who's just come over. So I'm gonna kick him, I'm gonna run back with him, and I'm gonna see if he wants to run forward as well. So little things like that. So there's a million things that can get you back if you are, because everyone goes through it, I don't care who you are. Everyone goes through that. Dip in confidence, not quite good enough, don't know what's going wrong, and it could be the littlest thing that could change it.
Talk about kicking. Premier League, not World or Europe. Premier League, who's the toughest opponent you came across in the Premier League that you thought, I don't fancy that?
What, directly as a fullback or as a player?
Yeah, I suppose it would be a right back or maybe a midfielder in your latter days, but yeah. Probably Lee Dixon. Yeah, probably. The reason Lee Dixon, he was experienced, played obviously a lot of his time at Highbury, not really a winger's dream, Highbury, tight, always boiling hot in London, not like Manchester, raining, slippy surfaces, always boiling hot, dry. And he always got his distances right. So when I played against quick players, they usually weren't too clever. So I would take them into places where they didn't want to go, and just try and figure out a way of getting past, take them into centre midfield, what they're going to do. The slower, more intelligent players, you would just have a little movement there, go towards the ball, spinning behind. Lee Dixon was quickish, but also his distances. So if you did come spinning behind, he always had that distance right where he could get back. If you went away towards the ball, he would be there, ready for you when you turned. So he was always someone who I knew going up to the week,
was going to be a difficult opponent. And then you get the likes of Earl Barrett, who was rapid when I was younger, Gary Kelly, quick, all really good players. In Europe, Cafu, Zanetti, these are all players who, what I said about Rafa da Silva, just wanted to run forward, and you ended up marking them. But yeah, in the Premier League, probably Lee Dixon, yeah.
And social media is obviously a big thing these days. I mean, I'm old enough to remember early 90s being at school and girls having pictures of you and Gary Speed, rest in peace. They were, you know, the poster boys of football in those days. How do you think Ryan Giggs, when you look at the modern day, you're not on social media yourself now, but as a footballer in the modern day, you look at footballers who've got 1.5 million followers on Twitter, and you know, I remember your Reebok deal, and you probably did a few dodgy adverts in your time, but it's a
lot.
It's a big thing these days. Do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think it would have impacted on your game with all that attention?
I would like to think not, but you can't tell. You can't say. You know, if I'm getting in the first team at 17 and someone's asking you to go on Instagram and they're going to give you so much to show a boot or whatever they do, it's a different world now. So I'd like to think not. I'd like to think, yeah, I would be 100% on my football, but there's so many distractions now. It isn't easy for footballers. But at the end of the day, if you do the stuff on the pitch, the rest will come. So that should be your main. There's room for both, but that should be your main job, football.
Seems like an eternity now, but the last Premier League trophy we won, obviously you was in that squad, and there was a lot of players been at Manchester United for years, achieved amazing things during that time. In that season, Steve Van Persie coming was fantastic, and what he did, it was fantastic. But was there, amongst the more senior players, at the end of that season, was there a feeling of they were past their best days, we're going to need to look further on and seeing that? Did you feel that? Did you sense that in the dressing room from your Evras, your Vidics, your Scholes, you know? Did you feel that, or was it we could keep going?
No, you didn't feel that. I think it's very... because you see players... Because I say about young players having dips of form. I remember reading the paper. Never used to read the paper, but this particular time I read the paper. I remember seeing the veteran Ryan Giggs, and I was 28. I was 28.
You've been around from so early, that's why.
Yeah, I was thinking 28. And 32, 33, when you have a bad game, he's too old. You have bad games when you're 22, 23, but that's what you get labelled with. Sometimes, if you've had a lot of injuries, they can catch up with you. But there's no reason, and you've seen players do it. Scholes has done it. You know, you can play on. So I don't think Rio was particularly that old. I don't think Vida was. I don't think Patrice was. It helps when you've got young legs around you, if you've got that experience. And like I say, they help each other. So, no, there wasn't a feeling that it was coming towards the end, no.
Last one for me. You played at grounds all over the world. Obviously, yes, Liverpool away, Anfield. Every United fan, player, you look at that first one on the calendar. What were the grounds that you looked at, whether they were in lower divisions and you're thinking, I hope we don't get them in the FA Cup or the League Cup and Premier League? What were the grounds that you looked at and thought, it's going to be a tough day?
Ooh, I don't think I've ever been asked. No, I love to play at Tottenham. That was easy.
Too easy there, mate.
I didn't like playing at the Dell. It was the same as Highbury. Tight, boiling hot. Used to grow the grass. Even though we did well, you never liked playing Stoke.
A Tuesday night.
Yeah. It's a good question, that. Yeah, I didn't like the Dell. I didn't like playing at Southampton away. So, yeah, that would be the one. We won everywhere else, didn't we?
It's easy. That's our last question, guys. Thanks for having us. Cheers. Nice and right.
Thank you. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause, Mr. Ryan Giggs.
Big thank you to you guys for watching the latest of our videos. And if you want to check out more, make sure you do that just to the right of me. We are the biggest and best Manchester United channel in the world.
Make sure you check us out on all of the socials as well. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. The socials are along the bottom. Peace.